Hello and welcome to this short video explaining some key grammar terms for parents. Okay, let's have a look at some key terminology that we may not have heard of before. So a verb is something that expresses a physical action, a mental action, or a state of being. And a noun is a naming word. It's a thing, a person, an animal, or a place. And nouns can be common, proper, abstract, or collective. And then we have an adverb. Now, an adverb is a word which modifies a verb. So what that means is it tells you how, when, where, or why something is being done. For example, the boy runs. Runs is the verb. How does he run? The boy runs quickly. Quickly is the adverb. Okay, then you've got an adjective. Now that is a word that is used to describe and give more information about a noun, which could be a person, place, or object. For example, the flower. What kind of a flower? The beautiful flower. So the adjective is beautiful, and that describes what the flower or what the noun is like. Then you have a noun phrase. Now, a phrase is a small group of words that does not contain a verb. So a noun phrase would include one noun as well as words that describe it, adjectives. For example, the red shoe. And then you have an adverbial phrase. So a phrase is, again, small group of words, does not contain a verb. So an adverbial phrase is built around an adverb, which is a word that describes a verb, and the words that surround it. So, for example, very slowly. As fast as possible. And then you have a clause. Now, clauses are the building blocks of sentences. They are groups of words that contain a subject and a verb, and they can be either main or subordinate. And they build up into sentences that could be either simple, compound, or complex, and we'll look at those in a little while. Then you have a connective. So a connective is an umbrella term, is a word that joins one part of a text to another. And those connectives could also be referred to as conjunctions, prepositions, or adverbs. So if we look at a conjunction, which is the most common type of connective, it would include the words and, but, and so, and because, if, and until. Fronted adverbials. I'm sure you've all heard lots and lots about fronted adverbials and probably thought to yourself, what on earth is one of those? It's quite simple. It just means it's an adverbial that appears in front of the verb it is modifying. Remember, an adverbial describes the verb. Okay, so if it's coming in front, it's a fronted adverbial. An example of that would be, during break time, Henry chased Peter with a water bomb. So we've underlined the verb chased, and the adverbial, which is at the front, is telling us when Henry chased Peter. Okay. Another example would be, with mischievous eyes, he smirked. Finally, Peter burst into tears. And after soaking Peter, Henry decided to find someone else to annoy. So a fronted adverbial comes in front of the verb it's modifying, and it is followed by a comma. So here, 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 and here. Okay, so we get on to simple, compound, and complex sentences. Let me break those down for you. So, simple sentences has got one clause in it, and you would see that in early years and lower key stage 1, where as a compound sentence that you would start to see children using throughout lower key stage 2 and onwards, uses 2 or more independent clauses. So a complex sentence would feature at least a single independent clause as well as one dependent clause. Okay. If you're further up in the school, you may well hear terms such as incomplete sentences or sentence fragments, and they are groups of words which feature no independent clauses. So it's probably helpful to ask, what is a sentence? And that's defined as a group of one or more words. So a sentence is defined as a group of one or more words that begins with a capital letters and finishes with a punctuation mark, whether that be a full stop, a question mark, or an exclamation mark. If it doesn't have one of those, then it's not a sentence, it's a clause. So, examples of simple sentences that your children further down the school might use would be a subject, the boy, and a verb, ran. The boy ran away from the dog. The dog, the subject, barked, the verb. And then you've got a compound sentence. That's two main clauses with a connective. The clauses are linked using connectives such as but, so, and. So a simple sentence would be I like football or I like rugby. To put those two together, we would use the connective and. So I like football and I like rugby. Or Paul can be loud, but he is funny sometimes. And then finally, a complex sentence. Now that's made when a main clause and a subordinate clause is joined with a connective. Subordinate clauses need the main clause to make sense. Without it, they make no sense at all. A main clause does make sense on its own. So in this example that you can see on your screen, I enjoy steamed vegetables, although my mother prefers them to be roasted. So the main clause is I enjoy steamed vegetables, because if you put a full stop at the end of that, that sentence would still make sense. The last part of it, although my mother prefers them to be roasted, if you turn that into a sentence as it is, that would not make sense at all. Okay, so a complex sentence is a main clause and a subordinate clause joined with a connective.